Mike Willese going into action with the diggers in Somalia.
For Aussie soldiers here, it could be mission impossible.
A current affair with Mike Willese returns this week on 9.
And that's the problem. The school of journalism that believes a story about humanitarian intervention in Somalia should be packaged as Mike Willese going into action, where the flak jacket, baseball cap and aviator sunglasses are all the research you need, and someone else even carries the microphone. Good evening. This week, inescapably, the media and that siege. It's been the starkest epitome of empty-handed journalism, of which the fighting from memory Willisy has been the most notable, but by no means the only, practitioner.
In a moment, my chilling phone conversation with the killers and the children they held hostage.
We now bring you this chilling phone call in full, followed by the very latest reports from the two main crime scenes.
As Tuesday's siege went on, more than a dozen reporters got through on the homestead's phone line, which of course bespeaks police incompetence, but that's another story. And none of them had any idea of how to handle their subject once they got him. Channel 7's Lee Hatcher obviously angered the murderously unbalanced man.
Why did you kill the other people?
Well, I had to have transport, didn't I?
That's all.
That's all, yep.
Just transport.
Okay, bye.
ABC Radio's Alan Rawson got through, but it wasn't him the man wanted to talk to. Rawson's call delayed the negotiations for release of the hostage children.
Who am I speaking to?
I'm from the media, mate.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to that much media, it's not funny, so I'm not really interested. I'm waiting for the police.
Mate, are you one of the gunmen?
Holding the phone up, I'm waiting for them to contact them. There's 2 kids' lives at stake here. I want to release them before the police, some stupid bloody cop starts shooting.
Mate, what demands do you want to make?
Well, for a start, get off the line so he can talk to police. Then the really dangerous and inexpert interference.
Mate, why don't you let the kids go?
I am letting the kids go. If you listen to the other radio stations who kept fucking haggling me all on this phone since we got here, I am letting the kids go as soon as they get a female constable here, which is all I'm waiting for.
But the ABC's man wanted to keep him talking.
You're guilty of 5 murders.
Yeah.
All right, okay, mate, you let the kids go, all right?
Yeah, we shall.
Hatcher and Rawson both conducted their interviews like bulls in a china shop, and more by good luck than good judgment, or any judgment at all, their clumsiness didn't provoke disaster. No doubt Leonard Leabeater had never heard of Lee Hatcher or Alan Rawson. Michael Willese, though, is another story. He's a star.
This is Michael Willese, Leonard.
Oh, hello, Michael. Well, at the moment, we're waiting to pass on the children to the police. We're waiting for the police to get a female constable into the area, so we can pass the children on safely, and then we're here to die.
Leonard, why do you want to die?
It's called getting to the point or bringing a madman to the brink. Willisy quickly established that one child had already been killed for fear she would speak to police.
How was that girl killed?
She was shot through the head.
And then you burned the body?
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Huh? Oh, to give us time to get out of the state.
Why did you take the children with you?
Oh, they're perfectly safe.
So what did he do? He asked to speak to the children, who he knew were at the mercy of this murderous madman, but not just to speak to them. He was going to ask them questions that could only have further endangered their lives. And they say the prerogative of the prostitute is power without responsibility.
Has Leonard told you that he'll let you go?
Yes.
Do you believe him?
Yes.
Do you like Leonard?
Yes.
Have you seen him do bad things?
No.
Have you been frightened or?
No.
No? Have you enjoyed this adventure?
Yes.
Did you see anybody get killed?
No.
Do you know that Leonard killed some people?
No.
Having gone that far, the empty-handed superstar wallowed in the blood.
Have you enjoyed the killing so far?
Well, psychopaths usually enjoy killing.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said, do psychopaths usually enjoy killing?
I don't know, do they?
Of course they do.
Did you enjoy shooting the 14-year-old girl from Mackay?
Yes.
Why?
Sorry?
Why did you enjoy that shooting?
Well, I just told you, didn't I? Only thoughts I've got of her now is just blood spurting out of her head.
That's your strongest memory.
Sorry?
That's your strongest memory.
Yeah, my strongest memory.
Neither the dead child nor any of the other victims, nor the men who killed them, were the story. Mr. Willisy was the story, and it was his to keep alive or kill off. He kept it alive even to the extent of inviting his critics onto his program. Despite fighting on the superstar's ground, a child psychiatrist made a telling point.
I was concerned to see if they were alive, and if they were they safe?
Well, I guess you make a judgment about whether you want to be the news or whether you want to report on the news. In this instance, you are being the news.
I discovered those children were alive.
So what? Does he seriously suggest the police, who he was keeping off the line, didn't know that? The self-importance amounts to self-deception, as he showed his radio demagogue superstar mate, John Laws, who provided an apologia for Willisy next morning.
I gave earlier this morning on your behalf exactly the same reason that you gave, to establish the fact that the children were alive and well, and in fact were not feeling overly threatened by what was going on around them. And I must say, the conversation that I heard with the children, or the child seemed to be very much in control at that time.
Yes, they sounded okay to me, and fortunately he kept his promise. In fact, 45 minutes after he made that promise to me, the kids were released.
What presumption! He made that promise to me, says Willisy. The man did no such thing, and the motive for that assertion could hardly be more transparent. The forgotten man of the whole story was Darren Hinch. Perhaps Channel 10 couldn't afford the STD call to Grafton. But he turned in a quintessential performance all the same. Hinch blamed the victim. Well, the victim's mother, at least. He interviewed the woman whose 14-year-old daughter the man had shot dead.
Well, when I talked to Wayne, he was complaining. He said that your daughter had been found wandering in the streets as a little girl, that she'd been into foster homes, and he seemed to blame you for a lot of her problems. Is that fair or not fair?
No, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's really the time to bring up anything that, like that.
But if you're an empty-handed journalist, you have to. And what was he getting at here? Suicide?
You've had a terrible time. You had a young son who died from cot death.
Yes.
And now you've lost your daughter.
Yes.
What makes you feel like going on?
What makes me feel like?
Going on. How do you cope?
Takes your breath away, doesn't he? The man is quite indomitable.
The name of the farmhouse where that siege took place, it's ironic, because there was certainly no picnic at Hanging Rock.
Not much better from those who should know better.
Tonight's Death Wish at Hanging Rock.
There's no demand, I just want to shoot out.
Next, Real Life Stan Grant with more on that two-state murder spree.
Welcome to Real Life, with much more on that bloody cross-country crime spree.
And I know we should focus on a current affairs organ grinder rather than the monkey, but the conduct of Mike Munro shouldn't pass unnoticed. During the siege, he and his crew put down in a helicopter close to the homestead, despite an exclusion on such flights. Police were put at risk in getting the helicopter away from danger, so there was more than one aspect of media performance that concerned the Commissioner.
There is the difficulty in which our aircrew was placed by another helicopter in the area that was in a prohibited area.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That put lives at risk. They're the type of things that I'm concerned about.
Hello, I'm Mike Moore. Welcome to Frontline.
These incidents were best summarised by 9 60 Minutes.
I want to turn now to probably one of the most contentious media issues for a while, and that is the coverage of the two sieges in recent times.
Have you enjoyed this adventure?
Yes.
Did you see anybody get killed?
No.
So I'm not really interested. I'm waiting for the police.
Mate, are you one of the gunmen?
Holding the phone up. I'm waiting for them to contact them. There's two kids' lives at stake here. I want to release them before the police, some stupid bloody cop start shooting.
Hello?
Is that Richard? It's Mike Munro calling from A Current Affair.
All right, here you go.
How are you?
I want to see segments, the basic crux of what I'm talking about, put over the air. I want to watch it on TV.
The professional newscasters attempted to justify it, but for many, the line had been crossed. Tonight, the ABC's Frontline takes on the issue of the siege.
Hello, Amy. My name's Mike Moore. Do you know who I am?
No.
Oh, Amy, are you afraid?
No.
Have you enjoyed this adventure?
Yes.
Is Daddy there? Guns. And is he pointing the gun at you?
No.
You put Daddy back on the line, Amy.
Tom Gleisner from the Frontline team joins me now. He's at the Frontline offices. Tom, am I right that the Brisbane and the Cangai Sieges were in some way the inspiration for the whole series?
Yes, that's pretty much a correct statement, James. We'd been looking at all the excesses of the media over the last year or two, but if any one event brought them most clearly into focus, it was the behaviour of a certain current affairs program during those sieges.
What did you and the others find most disturbing about the actions of the journalists and their justifications afterwards?
Well, the behaviour spoke for itself. The fact that they tied up a phone line to a farmhouse and went in and spoke to a gunman who was at that stage holding a gun to, the heads of some kids. But it really was the glib justifications afterwards. Basically, it worked out fine. No one was hurt. So what did we do wrong? And that clearly wasn't the point. It might not have worked out like that.
Now, most satire exaggerates in some way to make its point, but in Frontline, you're pretty much just doing whatever went on. I mean, some of the dialogue from tonight comes from actual events.
Yeah, I think that is true to some extent, though we have to extrapolate. We weren't working in the offices of a current affair during that time, and we'll never work in the offices of a current affair, I imagine. So we had to sort of guess what really would have been going through the minds of the people involved. They must have questioned themselves as they were breaking, the police cordon and phoning the gunman, but just the drive to get the story at any cost obviously overrode their thoughts. And so this episode of Frontline tonight, I think, just shows what must have been going on in that enormous rush to get what was clearly going to be a ratings winner, and it was a ratings winner.
Let's talk a little more generally about the whole show itself. Now, the one criticism I keep hearing is that it's very clever, it's very sharp and on the point, but it's not very funny. And in fact, people outside of the media may not really be getting the show at all. Are you happy with the show in its present form?
We deliberately approached the show Frontline to be a drama. We wrote it as a drama, we perform it as a drama, we even cast it as a drama right back in the early months when we went to the casting agency. We said, put away the comedians. We want to see serious, straight actors here. And we figured if we do it like that, and then there's humour will come from it, the expectation isn't that it's going to be roll around, clutching your sides, hilarious. Especially after the Late Show, we wanted to make it quite clear to our audience, or potential audience, that this was not going to be the Late Show. This was going to be a drama that hopefully had a few laughs in it. Now,
Tom, D-Gen fans may be wondering why you yourself have such a low profile on Frontline. Were you tired of acting? Was there no role for you to do? What's the story?
Basically, acting roles in Frontline were handed out according to ability. Hence, I'm the photocopier maintenance man, and I do make regular appearances, but my back is the camera. But watch out for me.
And finally, Tom, just to finish up, I mean, some shows such as 60 Minutes or Real Life, they've been faxing you. They're obviously, enjoying the joke. Does this mean in some ways that you've failed? Shouldn't those shows be hating you?
That is often the danger of satire, I think, is that what you think is a sharp arrow piercing somebody is in fact being celebrated by them. They're going, oh, great, that was us. They were referring to me there. And I guess that's always an occupational hazard. We get a lot of calls from various people we mention, always going, oh, great, loved it, fantastic, could we get a tape? And we usually figure that tape is going straight to their lawyers. So let's just see how the series pans out.
OK, Tom Gleisner, thanks very much for talking with us.
Thanks, James.